Hello, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for the technical hiccup. It's an honor to be here today with all these great scientists and researchers. And I just wanted to reflect quickly about the venue. What a great choice it is, because it's not just beautiful, but it also reflects a family story. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it was a wedding present from the Čekonich family to the Károly family. And the Čekonich family lived really well in the 18th century from agriculture. They were breeding horses, they were keeping cattle, and then they just went broke in 4 generations. So lost every single card games and debts and everything else. So it's what a great place for a soy health forum, I would say, because what we can just crush our soils or rebuild them or lose them in 4 generations. So I just checked it yesterday where we are. So anyway, I would like to talk about the practical part of regenerating soils and how we can do it, and how we personally do it. We are not on the science part, but we are on the consulting part, helping farmers into the transition in Hungary and the surrounding countries. And I would like to talk about something like what is regenerative farming, what are the principles, what's this transition period that we are talking about, what would be the data needed to make it more effective and more risk-free for the farmers, and how the soil health data help also help farmers with other things, not just regenerative farming. You know that regenerative farming, I don't think that there is a definition, because what people say is that regenerative farming is not like defining it like you can do with organic farming. You have the laws, the regulations, you have everything there. But for regenerative farming, everyone say, okay, it's an approach, it's a system, it's a process. But what's important is that there are different practices, and there are outcomes, desired outcomes. So I would say I just put in something. When you Google what is regenerative farming, you will get something from White Farm, which is a wheat and flour brand in the UK. You will get something from the Nobel Institute. Of course, I don't have to tell them what the Nobel Institute is, and also from Syngenta. So key players are trying to define what regenerative agriculture is. What's important is that it's partnering with nature to protect the soil and enhance diversity and the holistic management. It has the 6 principles. When I was in the United States, farmers knew it like they knew anything like a hymn or something like that. So for them, it's really a basic of how they work. First of all, you have to know your context. No 2 farms are the same. No 2 farmers are the same. And of course, there are differences everywhere. You have to minimize disturbance of the soil. It's not just physical disturbance, also chemical and biological disturbance. You have to keep the soil covered, protected from erosion, protect from UV, and protect from other harms that can damage your soils. You have to maximize biodiversity with your crop rotation, with using cover crops. Also keep a living root 365 days a year just to keep the soil functioning. And if you can, integrate the livestock. It's very important to say it was only the 5 principles of soil health a few years ago. Number 1 was out, and then they just realized, okay, it's much more important to know the context. And I think what soil health data can help us is just know our context. You know, we have different beliefs, we have different climatic properties, we have different soil properties of our farm. We are, as people, different. We believe in different things. We aim for different things. It's not just, okay, maybe some farmer will not be able to integrate the livestock. Some farmers will not be able to keep a living root because they are, I don't know, producing vegetables or something like that. But anyway, this is a really good guidance. So if there are no definitions, commonly accepted definitions, but there are some principles for soil health and regenerative farming. The transition period is what we say is when a farmer decides to go to regenerative farming from a conventional farming, and then they just say, okay, I will try to minimize. I will try to keep myself to the 6 principles of the soil health. Of course, there's something on the loss side and there's something on the win side. But the big thing is that you will be able to do, the farmer will be able to do everything in partnership with nature. Nutrient availability, weed control, pest control, preparing seed beds. When you talk to Hungarian farmers, they will say, okay, I will just use this equipment and this and this and that, and then I will be able to do everything in 4 or 5 passes, and absolutely making an artificial seed bed, which looks great and works great until the first drought or the first big rain. Of course, this means more work in the farmer's head and less work in the field. So no, so it's more intense on the knowledge side and less intense on the input and the work side. But then it would also mean increase of soil carbon and an increase in soil biology, and also would mean lower expenses and higher farm profitability. So you can say, okay, this is great. Why aren't we doing it? Why aren't we going for it all in? So in Hungary, we have 4 million hectares under arable cropping. Okay, and I would say maybe 1%. Or let's just say, if I say 1% or 2% are under regenerative farming, I would say a lot. So why is that? Why isn't there 50, 60%? There's something, there must be a catch somewhere. And the catch is that regenerative agriculture is not fail-safe. It's not fail-safe on the financial side, not fail-safe on the farming side. So you can see that there are everyone is modeling an initial loss of profits, maybe also an initial, not just a loss of profits, and you are not even at break-even point. But some would say, okay, it's just a 2 or 3 years. Some say it's 5, 6 years. We are seeing more and more with current technology, with current knowledge. We are seeing more and more farms who can do this with a minimum loss of profit. You just need to think a little bit more and not just buy a new machine, but maybe get some more soil health data, which is something like farmers don't really do. They say, okay, I will buy this machine and a bigger tractor in a different color, and everything will be solved for me. It's not the same. It's not that, because we are just really keen on to keep everything under control and to really try to do everything that we can, and not just say, okay, let's just rely more on soil and soil health and soil biology, and then things will just go better for us. What makes soil healthy? I think there are the main indicators that we can agree on: that the nutrient availability, workability, the oxygen availability, the nutrient retention, toxicity, salinity, and the rooting conditions. You can see this. If these are great and these are all optimal, then I would say that there should be no problem with our soils at all. But is soil health something that we can say an objective and quantifiable set of parameters? There were some discussions a few years ago between István Parádi and a small group of Hungarian scientists and a small group of farmers. And István said, okay, I don't think that soil health could be a quantity parameter or something like that. Maybe you can say soil condition. We know that things are changing, so maybe it's we can say set a group of parameters and say, okay, this is what soil health is, and then this is objective and quantifiable. I think I also used the EU soil health map that Arvin just showed up. I just put a point on. It's near the Lake Balaton, where we are working with a farmer on 1,600 hectares to start a regeneration and start carbon sequestration. And it just said, okay, the average health points are okay, but you can see 2 big things: soil biodiversity and soil organic carbon are unhealthy. And I think that would be true for most of the most of the red or orange points in Hungary, that we are lacking biodiversity and we are losing soil organic carbon in an awfully fast pace. So what do we need? What do we need to present the farmers in order to be able to tell them, okay, you are on the right way, regeneration is going well, your soils are doing better, your farm is doing better. Of course, when the farms are doing better, they will know it, because they will get the checks, they will get the money, and they will understand it. But it's a long way. So we would say that, okay, we need a suite of indicators which reflect soil health, respond to the regenerative management practices. So if you change the practice, then there will be an improvement in that parameter. Are available at scale. So there is a laboratory in Hungary who can do, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 analysis of that in a year or so. Are affordable, so they don't cost a hell of a lot of money, and are not redundant. So they really just characterize one parameter of the soil. I really just brought out some parameters. I think this is just 1/5 of what we can find on the internet right now, from 40 to 50 or even 60 parameters, which could be chosen to characterize soil health. And some of them are available. Some of them are really a standard procedure in the laboratory and available for a cheap price. Some of them are really a special one. Some of them are not even done in Hungary or not even in Europe. Maybe they are done in the United States only. What do we have to choose? What shall we use there? There was a great literature there where they listed all these parameters and then all the practices, and where you see the asterisk. This means that parameter that analyzes really reflects the change in that practice. So this is something that we should choose. And you see, this is like 20-something parameters as well. Some of them costing multiple hundreds of dollars for one sample. So I would say, okay, which shall we choose? And we are running the carbon program here in Hungary on 4,000 hectares, starting only this at the beginning of this year. And we are using only these parameters at the moment. I would say only because this all together with the Haney test and with the Hungarian lab analysis use some 42 parameters altogether. But we are building on the total carbon from the dry combustion. We are using on the bark density, a Haney soil health test for those parameters that I listed there. We use a Hungarian test for the NPK, pH, and the nutrients. We use a fungi and bacteria count as well. And in some years, in some places, we will be using metagenome sequencing. So that's cost a little bit less than 22 euros per hectare per year for the farmer for a 10-year project running. So I would say that this is something that even with these current grain prices, farmers could do. And these parameters do indeed reflect the soil health, respond to the practices, are available at scale. We are running thousands of analyses in a season, are affordable, I would say, for the farmer, that are not redundant. But how do we turn this into a successful transition? First of all, what is a successful transition? What are the outcomes? Who shall define the outcomes? We see more and more, it's a trend that multinational companies, food processing companies coming and say, I want this and this and this, and this will be regenerative farming for me. This is a FAIR report from 2013, and you can see all these definitions coming from the food industry. And they are saying, okay, I want to see this and this from a farmer. But what does the farmer say? What does the policymaker say? What do the consumers say? And what do the researchers say? Can we agree on something like, okay, if we see this in the soil, then this is a successful regenerative transition? I would say there are multiple indicators. We talked about already that regenerative farming is practice-based and also outcome-based. So we have to keep them in line. We have to have the targets, we have to have the practices, the results, and the outcomes. But what's important is that sometimes people are too focused on practices, just like we do with the organic farming. When we are always focusing on the practices, you can use that one and you can't use that one, you can do that and should not do that. But I would say that regenerative farming is a bit different in this matter. So you can see there, it's like the example shows how the objectives, the practices, the results, and the outcomes should be defined for a carbon farming project in Europe using normal grain crops and what we normally produce. And we should say, okay, we should have the target-based indicators. What is it? We have a carbon management plan. We must have the practices. We have to do something that will increase the soil carbon content. You can see that in the middle column, but you can see that cover crop, this can be a change to shallow tillage or no tillage. This can be organic amendments, adding animal manure, and so on. We have to have the results. So we have to say something, okay, 25% of the area is covered every day in the year. And then we have the outcome, of course, which is that the interventions delivered what we are looking for. For example, there is an increase in soil organic carbon content. What else can we do with the soil health data? I would like to add 4 other case studies that we can see. We can see that the land use optimization. Of course, it's not. It's more common in the Australian farming scene that they are thinking about. Okay, is it 5 tons or 6 tons of wheat? Is it the best that I can do with this soil? Produce 5 tons wheat, I don't know, 6 tons corn, and get some money from it. Shouldn't I think about maybe turn it into a grassland and do adaptive multi-paddock grazing, and then just go into a different system? Or shall we plant trees? Or shall we just do something different with all these things? And then I have to have the cost benefit calculation, the carbon potential carbon sequestration potential calculation. This is something up and coming in Australia. I think it's quite far from here in Hungary and maybe in Europe. Carbon farming is, what's the potential of that field, of the soil, of the farm? What will be the annual sequestration? Can we even calculate the payments for the farmers? And will there be a point in 20 to 60, 30 years when the farmers should be paid for just conserving that and not just adding more carbon? Because farmers keep asking, okay, how long will it run for me? How long can I do it? There is also reducing the input usage, what we can do with soil health data. There are lots of questions. These are all questions coming from farmers in process of regeneration or transition to regenerative agriculture. When can I use less nitrogen? When should I use more nitrogen in the beginning? What's the connection between a soil health test and a metagenome analysis? Can you tell me if this one is the marker is this one and the other one is that? Am I doing good or not? How do pesticides affect soil life? Can I use fungicide treatments on the seeds and also on mycorrhizas at the same time? And what's the effect of glyphosate on soil life? Also really exciting research topics. And there's also the question, can I go regenerative by being organic? And the question is, okay, maybe you can do, but maybe in 4 to 5 years, maybe 1 or 2 years will be okay. 3 years will be catastrophic. That's the current experiment. Also, what we can do with soil health data is to help farmers with food labeling and with tracking the food to the consumer, have more greater accountability. Can we certify regenerative farmers based on soil health data? If yes, what would be the markers that we should use? There are some first regenerative certificates out there, like Regenified and the rest. So that should be something already present in the US and maybe coming to the European Union as well. Some closing thoughts, and I was trying to keep this short to have the other presenters more time to present their thoughts. Regenerative farming is an approach with the practices and the outcomes, and the transition is the riskiest part. So soil health parameters should be used to track the regenerative process, and the devices should be rock solid for the farmers to be able to make this transition less risky financially and environmentally. And the detailed soil health data can also be used for something like land use optimization and transparent food labeling. And apart from profitability, regenerative farming is another indicator. And I always say this because I always love to say that we see positive examples that farmers are spending less time in the field, spending more time with what they love to do, families, friends, hobbies, and so on. So time is a valuable asset. So you don't have to rush all the time and just get everything done quickly. So this is it. Thank you very much for your attention.